Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you some new findings. I think AdMech didn't do too hot at LVO or Nottingham. Did okay at Nottingham, but not too much at LVO. And I'm doing a checkup on some of my picks that I felt were sleepers. And what went wrong or what went right with some of my picks. And today we're landing on Haloscreed Battle Clade to see what I didn't see with LVO that could be argued was kinda here at Nottingham. And as I've gone through the list, I think not only did I see an interesting variation, um, but I think we are starting to figure out the proper way to build the list for Halo's Creed Battleglade. And I say we with a pinch of salt. I'm not an AdMech player, I'm just an enjoyer from afar, but I'm seeing developments that I would like to share with all of you. What are these developments? First, let's talk about this list from Adrian Lopez at LVO, where we have Halo's Creed Battleclade. You have Rangers, Rangers. Iron Strider Ballistarii will be important here. You see 3 units of 2. Skystalkers, Sterilizers, Infiltrators, Ruststalkers. Well, we're going to be focusing on Ruststalkers and Ballistarii for this video. More or less. We'll get to that when we get there. And then in Nottingham, I want to talk about George's list over here. That is also Halo's Creed, right? Rangers, Vanguard, Dune Riders, Dune Crawlers, Sky Stalkers, Sterilizers, Cerberus Raiders, Infiltrators, Rust Stalkers, Disintegrators. Okay? So that's looking at two Halo's Creed lists. Now, you might be wondering like where they fall. I'll just show this here just for the sake of you getting some sense of that. But it's what is within the list that threw me for a loop, right? Different performance levels and different list overall. But we do see still Skitarii Hunter cohort, right? Taking it and the top spot of the AdMech for both LVO and Nottingham. We have Garrett Stacy's list over here, Marshals, Rangers, Vanguard, Sky Stalkers, Infiltrators, Rust Stalkers, right? Keep this in mind. And going back over here with Bruce, we have Rad Zone Core, Call, Manipulus times 2, Techno Archaeologist, Rangers, Vanguard, Ballistarii, 3 and 2 again, Sky Stalkers, Infiltrators. Now, at first it didn't click to me for a while. I've been on this for a few hours now actually. And you see the differentiations and I go, "Man, I didn't think that Halo's Creed was just so far off from well, Skitarii Hunter cohort, and I definitely didn't expect it to be behind Radzone Core." Now, the thing that made me say Halo's Creed Battleclade and AdMech have a fair shot at doing underdog things lately is why I rated them for the Imperium side the same reason I did for Drukari at a Xenos. And that's the game is moving towards -1 to hit, -1 to be wounded if your strength is greater than your toughness. So, one thing that is very important now is having access to lethals and anti. So then it hit me, right? I like Ruststalkers in Halo's Creed Battleclade because they have +1 to advance, and charge rolls, and you can give them advance and charge. You can also give them +2 to move. So around battle line, right? They have +4 from here, +6 inches of movement essentially if they're around battle line. And for 150 points at 10 models, 15 points per model, anti-infantry 3 up precision for 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, not including Doctrine Imperative shenanigans, Strength 5, AP 2, Damage 1. That sounds like a pretty decent package to spam out. But then going back, I noticed something about Adrian's list. For the Rust Stalkers, different from Garrett Stacy's list with these Rust Stalkers. And what if I told you, well, everybody that wanted war gear to actually matter? I think it does. I think it does. Not to just harp on anybody's list design, that's not what we're here to do. But just for steps forward and not purely off of placings and none of that bullshit. Just the fact that in Haloscreed Battle Clade, you have eradication protocols in which you can re-roll the wound rolls of 1 for non-Halo override units, and if they are Halo override, add re-roll hit rolls of 1 on top of the re-roll wound rolls of 1. And if I re-roll wound rolls of 1 into anti-infantry 3 up with precision, I'm clearing infantry units with my bullshit unit. Now, you might go, well, who has infantry clearing problems? Going back to what I was saying about how the game is moving towards -1 to wound, strength greater than toughness, yeah, it's nice that these are strength 5, so you can clear Space Marines and Elves, right? You can clear that. But you factor in things like Deathwing Knights or Custodian Wardens that are T6, or just tougher in general. I'd much rather have anti-infantry 3 up and put AP2 saves onto those models. And even precision out of character compared to Transonic Blades. Don't get me wrong, devastating wounds is nice. If I can roll 6s, I can punch whatever the fuck. However, if I can roll 6s with AP2, I can get pretty decent saves on most things as well, right? So I think for the current state of the game, getting those wounds on 3s, no matter what it is, for a bullshit unit that has insane movement in Haloscreed and possibly reroll wound rolls of 1 is actually kind of a decent package right now. And again, that's not to say that I go, oh, so and so's list is not tailored right. But no, seriously, I think right now it matters more what you're kitting out your AdMech for. Now, going over to George's list, and once again, something interesting that we saw twice over here, Adrian Lopez with the Ballistarii and Bruce with the Ballistarii compared to Disintegrators. Yeah, compared to Disintegrators. Why this, right? Now, you all know that I like the Scorpius Disintegrator. Or, well, if this is your first time here, I like the Scorpius Disintegrator. However, this is another case that I think differently. I think the Scorpius Disintegrator, for the time being, we're seeing other armies take advantage of this right now. Death Guard is, Astra Militarum is, We just got done with Sisters doing it. I shouldn't say just got done with Sisters, but Sisters aren't doing this thing anymore. The Scorpius Disintegrator can do this, but we're not seeing it out of the Scorpius Disintegrator right now. Have you caught on yet? I think you go with the Belleros Energy Cannon for indirect fire to soften up whatever the hell, whether it be infantry, that then your Rust Stalkers, that again are pretty cheap and pretty fast, can then finish off. Or also the fact that with the speed of the Rust Stalkers, you can just throw them into vehicles so that they don't have to be a concern anymore. And you have access to fallback, shoot, and charge and Haloscreed Battle Clade as well. So I'm thinking Disintegrator Belleros Energy Cannon might be the play. Get +1 to hit if it's infantry. But why do I like the Iron Strider Ballistarii instead of the Ferromite Cannon with the Scorpius Disintegrator, specifically in Haloscreed Battleclade? Well, those groups of two are slightly cheaper, right? They have the same speed, but you could advance and shoot with the Iron Strider Ballistarii, and in Haloscreed you can give them an additional 2 inches of movement. They have sustained hits 1, and in Haloscreed you can give them crits on 5s. So, for 2 models, 12 inches movement, advance possibly another 6, sustained hits 1 for 4 shots, that'll get you angles on 48 inches on top of that. That'll get you angles with your last cannon that your opponent probably was not ready for. Also, another thing that I want to, a tip that came out of 6 Gaming, Bug Watch, JP mentioned this one time, into, I think I had asked the question about Zoanthropes compared to Hiveguard. I'm a Tyrannage player. And this is an interesting thought about creating trade inefficiencies, right? Essentially, maybe not the exact words that were used for the conversation, but right now this is where I think it'll apply. If I have 150 points that not only is cheaper than 175, but one good roll from my Tyran effects does pop a Disintegrator, right? If I get one shot in and spike the D6 +6, guess what? Disintegrator goes pop. I only have 2 shots on my Tyran effects. Now, everybody else is doing 3 units of 2. I'm thinking maybe just for the hell of it, you do 2 units of 3, right? Same points. I don't really. I know it's easier to move around, but for the hell of it, I think that you go with, 2 units of 3, same points. And, well, if my Tyran effects only has 2 shots, even if I spike both, I'm never killing all of the Iron Strider Ballistarii that are probably going to kill it with 2 shots each. Strength 12, AP 3, D6 +1 damage. 6 shots compared to 3 shots. I like those odds, right? Like those sustained hits 1, excuse me. Yeah, the thing that I'm aiming for is probably going to go pop from Iron Strider Ballistarii staring it down more than the Scorpius Disintegrator when you factor in the fact that I can get better angles with the Iron Strider Ballistarii, crits on 5s, reroll hit rolls, and wound rolls of 1, right? Like, I'm not going to be in these trade wars as long or as frequently as with using Scorpius Disintegrators. That's why, if we go with Belleros Energy Cannons and indirect fire some shit, maybe next to somebody that we've seen pop up in actually none of these lists, if I remember correctly. But in other lists recently, oh no, one list does have who I'm going to talk about. You can figure it out. Call. Reroll hit rolls of 1, that way I don't need to spend the CP on it. Indirect fire and a lone up is pretty good. Right? Right. So, indirect fire, Death Guard are doing it. Astra Militarum are doing it. They're doing pretty good with it right now. Sisters are no longer doing it right now because Sisters kind of got deleted from the game, but that's another discussion. Scorpius Disintegrator, Ballistarii Call, Belarus Energy Cannon, Indirect Fire, Iron Strider Ballistarii for anything big, Sicarian Ruststalkers to take care of the rest. Now, mind you, this doesn't affect mounted, essentially. Um, oh, also to the point of the Ballistarii, the strength greater than toughness -1 to wound shenanigans. Yeah, if I have more shots and sustained, I can get past that more than I could with the Scorpius Disintegrator. So I think that's just a safety net, and specifically the Ferromite Cannon on the Disintegrator. Right, I think it's just a better safety net. Um, yeah, so you don't have anti-mounted, right, in this army, I believe, right? I'm pretty sure, unless I'm forgetting something. Um, but you do have access to those types of things. I should also even mention one thing that caught my eye is instead of maybe Rangers for the Scout to follow up the Sicarian Infiltrators, we'll bring those up too. Infiltrators in the sense that we found out that the Nemesis Claw is pretty annoying when a random bullshit unit can touch you and possibly turn off your stratagems. So probably want to do that with infiltrators that could get advanced in charge and they already have infiltrate. Might want to look into bringing a squad or two of those in. But also the Vanguard, not only do they have the possibility of subtracting objective control, but they do have radium carbines with anti-infantry 4 up. So again, just chipping out wounds, and if you give them the omnispecs, ignores cover, right? It will just put saves on shit like the Deathwing Knights, Custodian Wardens, just random bullshit that is infantry that you don't need to waste too much time on. If the faster that you can clear those screens and the actual threats of the infantry, we've seen uh, Death Watch kill teams, we've seen Blood Angels, whatever the fuck else, right? The faster you can get through the quote unquote scary infantry units, you can dedicate your time to everything else. And we're seeing a lot of speed come out of Haloscreed Battle Clade, right? We're talking about pretty fast units. So if Iron Strider Ballistarii can focus their attention on the vehicles, and Belarus energy cannons, and fucking Ruststalkers can pick up the other bullshit, fine. I think you can get the job done. You are playing a glass cannon army. You can't really get punched too much as AdMech. You want to punch them hard and probably faster. So I think that's the angle. I think that's the angle. After looking through the list of LVO, Nottingham, there was another one, another tournament that I'm blanking on right now. Not a, I don't think it was a big one, but I saw that pop up. But yeah, I think Haloscreed, I'm still confident that it has a place in the meta right now. I think you just gotta do a little bit of maybe magnetizing or just complete swapping out of AdMech parts uh, to make this go a little bit further. That's that's my thing. So to that, I think this list also double techno archaeologist to block shit out from Adrian Lopez might be the closest thing to the best Haloscreed Battle Clade list? Maybe? Maybe? Mm, yeah, maybe. In my head, I think Adrian might be closest with the thing. So I don't know. I think I'm in my head again. I'm not a pro. Not a pro. Not even an admin player. Just from observing shit. Right. Take all this with a pinch of salt. I think you really have to double down on anti-keywords, so Rangers to Vanguard, Ballistarii stay, and switch the Ruststalker weapons, you might have some serious shit, right? Oh, the other thing I wanted to note that we're seeing in Haloscreed, nobody's making, like, well, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of these lists aren't making Death Star units. They are skirmish, trade out the points. Why am I fighting these little fuckers still? This isn't Skitarii Hunter cohort list, right? With some additional punch behind it out of Disintegrators or Iron Strider Ballistarii. So, so yeah, I think uh I think there's hope. And once the build irons out, might be in for some fun. But hey, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.